कोई मूवीज कैसे बनाए ना, ये तो राजामौली से सीखे यार। अरे, एक और बिग बजट हिंदी मूवी का फ्लॉप हो गया क्या? रॉकी भाई, तूने तो तहलका मचा दिया यार। अरे तू वो वाली मलयालम मूवी देखा क्या, जो अभी भी आई थी? क्या स्टोरी लाइन है बे, रब चेक। ब्रो, बॉलीवुड में रखा क्या है? ग्लैमर और नेपोटिज्म। ऐसे बहुत सारे कमेंट सुनने को मिले थे पोस्ट 2022 एंड 2023। बट इस कमेंट्स का जो mindset hai, we are trying to understand that, and I'm also trying to describe how our Indian film industry should be in a way. So I thought I'll make a podcast on that. Hey guys, this is Gautam here and welcome to my podcast channel called Chocolate Coffee Conversations. Usually मैं मेरी podcasts को English या फिर तमिल में बनाता हूँ. सोचा मैं एक हिंदी podcast भी बना लेता हूँ. It'll be fun. I wanted to have a fun topic, and nothing is more fun than cinema for me, because I grew up watching a lot of cinema. Cinema has played an integral role in my life, integral part in my life, and I've always loved talking about cinema. तो सोचा ऐसा एक टॉपिक के बारे में बात करते हैं which is relevant to Hindi and at the same time cinema as well. तो जैसे मैंने टाइटल रखा है इस पॉडकास्ट का, Neo Pan Indian Cinematic Universe. That is what the idea of this podcast is. So, to give a little bit of history, there was always interaction between stories among different industries, among different regional industries in India. 70s, 80s, 90s में हुआ करता था. But उसका जो exposure level था, because of not very many media coverage and not very many sources, उसका जो exposure ना उतना हुआ नहीं करता था. जैसे बहुत सारे अमिताभ बच्चन के मूवीज को तमिल में रीमेक किया गया था रजनीकांत के साथ, and it was equally as hit as it was in Hindi. बहुत सारे तमिल मूवीज को गोविंदा ने रीमेक किया है हिंदी में, and again both of them were equally hit. बहुत सारे अच्छे मूवीज को तमिल डायरेक्टर या फिर साउथ इंडियन डायरेक्टर ने हिंदी में डायरेक्ट किया है. जैसे मरो चरित्रा ले लेते हैं, which is a Telugu film directed by a Tamil director called K. Balachandar. It became a huge hit. और then he made it in Hindi called Ek Duje Ke Liye, which again became a huge hit. And then you get to see Kamal Haasan in Hindi film industry, and then he became a national icon. Then comes Mani Ratnam, where his straight Tamil films were huge hits in Hindi. Roja Bombay, which made him earn the credibility to go and make a straight Hindi film called Dil Se with Shah Rukh Khan. Then again he made lots of Hindi films. Then A.R. Murugadas was there. He made Ghajini after a few years. तो ऐसे South Indian technicians North में जाके films make करना, it's not a new thing. But right now, the entire ideology of South Indian cinema is being observed closely, or is being followed closely by a big chunk of North Indian audience. And this actually happened because of three important movies: Bahubali 2, KGF 1 and 2. इन तीन मूवी ने एंटायर सिनेमा के लैंडस्केप को चेंज कर दिया, एटलीस्ट द पर्सपेक्टिव को चेंज कर दिया, क्योंकि द कैनवास वाज सो बिग, द क्वालिटी वाज सो नाइस, एंड द आइडिया वाज सो इनोवेटिव एंड न्यू कि इवन हिंदी इंडस्ट्री, व्हिच इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी वन ऑफ द very superior industry in India because of its exposure, because of its money budget and its production quality, even they started thinking कि यार ऐसे films कहाँ से बना दिया यार इन लोगों ने. So which actually acted in advantage to South Indians, for South Indian film industry, क्योंकि one of the disadvantage of South Indian film industry is its budget, क्योंकि because of limited diaspora and limited consumption of regional language films, the budgets were limited. So even if the concept is good, even if it was high concept or a very ambitious project, you can't really bankroll a lot of money into that because there is only few people who are going to consume. But Hindi industry का advantage ये है कि Hindi people in India, non-Hindi people in India, or non-North Indian, like South Indian people in India, and Hindi community outside of India, that diaspora, and non-Hindi speaking Indian people outside of India, and non-Hindi speaking non-Indian people outside of India, they all started consuming Bollywood. They started consuming Hindi film industries content. तो उसके वजह से क्या हो जाता है कि उनके पास कंजम्पशन का जो कैपेसिटी है दैट इंक्रीजेस, सो दे आर एबल टू प्रोड्यूस higher budget and higher good quality films because people are ready to bankroll, right? And due to their exposure to foreign films and Hollywood much earlier than South Indian films, their structure is very nice as well. It's very क्या बोलते हैं, it's very Hollywoodish, right? Where they have a production house and they have a proper legal team to do their contracts and stuff. Dates are announced properly. There is a planning that goes on, pre-production, post-production. It's done in a perfect stages due to production house influences, right? तो साउथ इंडिया में प्रोडक्शन हाउसेस हुआ करते थे 60s, 70s, 80s तक ऑलमोस्ट था, बट 90s was a period where lots of independent film making started happening, जहाँ पे producers आ जाते हैं. they are not a production house, they are just some people with wealth or people with an ambition to make films, and they start funding films. So they started relying heavily on directors. The director has a team, and director's team is responsible to mount the entire films. Call sheets ले लो, location recce ले लो, technicians को book करना ले लो, everything is done by this team. So it became like an independent filmmaking idea where there is no production house involved, and the director is sole responsible for the entire film. So this became an advantage for South Indian film industry because they started taking lots of risks. Lots of experimental filmmaking was happening, which pushed the envelope to tell even more innovative stories. But Hindi industry में क्या होना शुरू हुआ कि due to this big production house involvement, I mean, the filmmaking process was very structured, but them taking risks into new ideas was very limited. क्योंकि जब इनका बजट इतना बड़ा है, they want a minimum return, a minimum guarantee for a return. तो क्या हो जाता है, they don't really go ahead and test different waters. They try to build in the same formula again and again. And slowly but surely, Bollywood started moving towards urban Hindi-speaking community. उनका जो rural rooted films बनना बहुत कम होना शुरू हुआ. I think one of the biggest influence when I was growing up was Gangs of Wasseypur, which was like a rural rooted film, right? You don't get to see those kind of films. It was always about NRIs or urban India, which is good. Like that's also a good sector. But there is a big chunk of people who consume these movies, but they are not from that part of the world. So they want their stories to be told. Ab South Indian films ऐसे बनना शुरू हुआ था, where they'll have an equal urban and equal rural stories to be told. So that became an attractive point for lots of North Indian people to even watch South Indian movies. And उनका जो मसाला का जो तरीका है, it's like a Rohit Shetty masala. So yeah, I mean obviously Rohit Shetty makes those films, but यहाँ का जो flavor होता है, it's even more of a delicacy for them, right? So they try to enjoy that, they try to admire that, and I think that has become the sole reason for this huge popularity of South Indian films in Hindi industry. Now that has acted as an advantage, as I said, to South Indian industry because the market has grown up so much, right? But one interesting thing that's occurring now is lots of artists are actually acting in all the languages. वैसे जैसे मैंने कहा था कि पहले भी ये हुआ करता था, but very limited, not known faces. जैसे इस साल का highest grossing films, the top 3 are Jawan, Pathaan and Animal. इसमें the 1 and 3, Jawan and Animal, was directed by South Indian filmmakers, right? You have Sandeep Reddy Vanga and you have Atlee directing these films. So these are huge achievements, right? It's not like one another film की कोई आ जाता है, ऐसा director जाता है, अच्छा चलो चला कि नहीं चला पता नहीं. They are like landmark films, right? And Indian like Hindi artists, they actually openly say that, okay, I want to work with this South Indian director, or I want to work in this film in South India probably. जैसे रणबीर कपूर ने in press meet में कहा था after Animal कि I want to do a straight Telugu film. I'm ready for it. So this is a healthy environment that's happening. I do remember Kamal Haasan ने एक interview में कहा था कि there were lots of good offers that came in by his way after एक दूजे के लिए to do films in Hindi. But he started thinking कि अगर मैं हिंदी इंडस्ट्री में फिल्म्स करना शुरू करूँगा, and what if I'm not that relevant to that, and what if I was not able to crack the Hindi audience's mindset, all the time. जैसे एक दूसरे के लिए तो था, hit हुआ, but we don't know what happens to the next one, right? अगर मैं वो नहीं कर पाया तो I would be left nowhere because Tamil industry will think कि अच्छा चलो ये तो हिंदी को चला गया, and Hindi industry will say that अच्छा यार I don't think you are that fit, so let's, you can go back. So he'll be left with no business, and it's a genuine issue that could occur. But आज का scenario ऐसे है कि एक विजय सेतुपति ले लो, he's acting in Tamil films, he's acting in Hindi films, he's acting in Hindi OTT, he's getting major roles in Hindi films like Merry Christmas, and he's doing villain roles in Jawan. Like, this is a healthy environment, right? I mean, it's only Vijay Sethupathi now who's pushing this, but I believe this will encourage lots of other heroes or stars to take these chances as well. So जैसे मैंने कहा था कि Neo Pan Indian Cinematic Universe का the best thing would be this कि all the artists and all the technicians are working in a crossover industry. To give a best example, Netflix में एक नया सीरीज आया था The Killer Soup. आप में से कितने लोगों ने वो देखा है करके पता नहीं. One of the fantastic series actually. Abhishek Chaubey, who you can remember from Urta Punjab or Ishqiya, he directed the film. He directed the series actually, Netflix series, and this is fantastic. Like uska theme, I don't know if everybody will love it. I personally loved it. It's a fantastic theme. But what I loved even more was, this was a Hindi speaking series set in a small town in Tamil Nadu. Okay. So prime set of actors are Hindi actors. Konkana Sen hai, Manoj Bajpayee hai, Shayaji Sinde hai, other artists are there. And there is equal amount of Tamil artists as well. There is Nasser hai, there is Anbudasan, there is another couple of characters. And this is set in a small town, imaginary town called Minjur, Manjur, if I'm not wrong, sorry, which is like almost like Ooty kind of thing, a hill station hai. And the series is so seamless ki the character just talks in their comfortable language. They'll talk in Hindi, they'll talk in Tamil, they'll talk in a tutti-futti Hindi, they'll talk in a tutti-futti Tamil, but they're okay. Like, it's so seamless, it's so organic, it's so natural. I think this is what needs to be done. And I'm not even saying only about South and North. You have to actually go to other parts of India, East and the West, and then try to bring in those cultures, incorporate those cultures into our flavor. Because India has this biggest advantage ki the cultures are so diverse that you can actually take a story and place it in a different culture that will have a different flavor altogether. So I believe this is the birth of our Neo Pan-Indian Cinematic Universe, where technicians, stories, directors, producers are working in cross-industry. And I believe that will become a healthy way of filmmaking, and we'll see a lots of interesting films in future. As I always say, let's get together and make this world a better place. Until I see you with my next podcast, this is Gautam signing off. Magilchi.